Part 26. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 251. I have never heard that there is such a place in the fairyland. Lotus King looked at the boundless Black Sea in the space rift, his eyes full of shock. He has lived through a long era, and can be said to be one of the most ancient and powerful beings in the immortal realm. But I have never heard that there is such a mysterious place in this fairyland. This place should have been isolated by the Supreme Being with great magic power before, and it belonged to two separate realms from the immortal realm. This is why we have never discovered this place before. Xianhuang closed his eyes and sensed silently. After the space crack, there is a vast world on the other side. Even with the strength of his immortal king realm soul, he cannot detect the end. It is enough to prove that the world after this space crack, how vast and boundless is it? But such a vast world, adjacent to the immortal realm, has never been manifested before, which is enough to prove that the person who sealed this world is powerful. It is enough to hide the truth from the sky, even the strong people in the immortal king realm. There is no way to detect it. The boundless sea contains the corpses of many powerful people, and many powerful people in the immortal king realm want to cross the sea. Could it be said that at the end of that ocean, there is really the legendary secret of breaking through to the immortal king realm? King Xian looked at the magnificent black ocean, and his heart was filled with ups and downs. Facing the legendary temptation to break through the immortal king realm, even with his determination, he couldn't help but feel shaken at this moment. After all, breaking through the immortal king realm would not help those who are already in the world. For those who have been in the immortal king realm for countless thousands of years, it is definitely an irresistible temptation. The space cracks continue to grow. This restriction has existed for such a long time, and now it has finally disappeared. I am afraid that it will not be long before this vast world will reappear. Lian Wang said with emotion. In his perception, many immortal masters are rushing here at this moment, and this black ocean hidden behind the cracks in space is gradually emerging. It won't take long before it will be completely revealed. By then, the entire immortal realm will know that such a party exists. This Black Sea may be related to the wilderness. King Xian said thoughtfully. Now, he naturally knows that the reason why the ancient sky monument suddenly started to tremble is because of the birth of this ancient place. There must be some special connection between the two. In the end, at least, Huang must know some secrets related to this black ocean. Let's go and explore. King Xian and King Lian looked at each other, stepped forward, crossed the 9 heavens, and entered the world after the space crack. Boom! When the two of them really approached this majestic sea, their feelings immediately changed. A majestic and endless coercion blew from the distant sea. Even with their dignity as immortal kings, they couldn't help but feel the pressure. Who built such a dam? As soon as they entered the world after the space rift, King Xian and King Lotus felt an unparalleled shock. Because, in front of that black ocean, there was an endless, majestic dam that connected the entire Black Sea. It was cut off and intercepted. The endless black ocean kept rolling up huge waves, hitting the ancient dike, but they were all blocked by it, perfectly dividing the two worlds. It is obvious that this majestic dike exists. The purpose, like the restrictions once placed here, is to separate the Sea of Darkness from the fairyland. There is a monument there. Lian Wang's spiritual soul searched far away and seemed to have found some clues. He went forward with Xianhuang. After a while, he appeared in front of an ancient sky monument. It was an extremely majestic sky monument, standing on the embankment. On top of it, it connects the sky and the earth. On the sky stele, there are even more divine patterns, which are very mysterious. There are words on the monument. King Xian explored the heavenly monument in front of him and found that countless divine patterns were arranged in a mysterious way, gradually forming 4 big blood-red characters, which appeared in front of him and King Lian. And those four characters, the content shocked King Xian and King Lotus. Those who cross the sea will die. This is the content engraved on this ancient monument. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 252. The ancient monument is majestic, standing on the ancient embankment, connecting the sky and the earth, and it is extremely majestic. A stream of eternal vastness flows on this ancient stone monument, as if it has been here for eternity, coexisting with heaven and earth. And the four-character divine inscriptions outlined with endless divine inscriptions made King Xian and King Lotus shocked and at the same time puzzled. He who crosses the sea dies. Obviously, the content on this monument is a warning to those who come after. The sea mentioned above obviously refers to the boundless and majestic sea in front of us. But, who left the content on this ancient monument? Could it be that the person who left this monument knew that there were huge risks hidden behind the boundary sea? But if this is the case, why are there so many immortal king realm creatures crossing the sea one after another? King Xian and King Lian looked at this ancient monument and fell into deep thought. While the two were meditating, many powerful and ancient immortal creatures arrived later. Among them, most of them exist in true fairyland. There are even some ancient creatures in the immortal king realm like Lotus King and Xian King. And when they actually arrived here, facing the majestic sea behind the crack in the void, they undoubtedly had an unparalleled shock to these creatures. Oh my God, what's this? The scene reflected on that ancient monument turned out to be real. It is unimaginable that there is such a mysterious existence in the fairyland. In that virtual scene, even the existence of the immortal king realm is extremely small in front of this majestic sea of world. Many powerful people entered the space cracks and climbed onto the embankment. They were filled with emotions and even more shocked. Qin Mu's shock points also began to rise crazily. You receive shocking points from King Xian Plus. You receive shock points from Lotus King Plus. You receive add 1214121 shock points from Desolation. You receive from. In just an instant, Qin Mu's shock points increased crazily at a rate of nearly 100 million per second. In just a short moment, he had harvested nearly 4 billion shock points. As the shock points increase, Qin Mu is getting closer and closer to the true realm of Immortal Emperor. Huh. Qin Mu, who was hiding in the dark and silently observing all this, suddenly cast his gaze in a certain direction, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. I didn't expect that there was such a strong person in the immortal realm. I had never noticed it before. It's interesting. Just after Qin Mu's voice fell, something happened in the distant sky. Buzz. Between heaven and earth, an eternal vast aura suddenly spread. In the void, thousands of golden lotuses grew, and millions of phantoms of gods and demons emerged, kneeling and worshipping in a certain direction at the same time. And in the center of these millions of gods and demons kneeling in worship, there was a creature in a white shirt strolling over. He was an old man with an ancient face, white beard and hair, and his eyes contained the light of wisdom that could see everything in the world and understand all things. As he walked forward, there were even more strange images around him. Endless light rain was swaying, and there were actually shadows of the world appearing around him one by one, evolving the way of creation and destruction of the world. And he is like the unique and supreme God in the world, extremely powerful and sacred. It turns out that the ancient king has arrived. Senior Ancient King. After seeing the old man in white, King Xian and King Lian both looked surprised, obviously surprised by the arrival of the old man in front of them. The names King Xian and King Lian gave to the old man in white were even more surprising. Many powerful people in the immortal realm present were shocked. They had never heard of the old man in white before them. But now, King Xian and King Lian were calling this old man senior. You know, King Xian and King Lian, but the most ancient and powerful existence in the immortal realm. But now, they are calling one person senior at the same time. This proves that the identity of the old man in white is also extremely noble. King Xian, King Lotus, long time no see. The old man in white said with a smile. Unexpectedly, what happened today actually alarmed the senior ancient king. He has been in seclusion for hundreds of millions of years. I wonder if the senior has ever touched the threshold of that realm. Lotus King couldn't help asking, his eyes full of expectation and complexity. Ancient king, a truly ancient and powerful immortal king in the immortal realm. Even in the past, when King Lotus had not been promoted to the realm of true immortals, ancient king he is already an ancient immortal king in the immortal realm. However, the ancient king has always been low-key and devoted to the Tao. He has never formed any force in the immortal realm, and has never had any descendants to pass down his bloodline in the immortal realm. Therefore, after the great changes in the world, as the eras turn, the name of the ancient king gradually fades away in the immortal realm and is gradually forgotten by all living beings. However, there is no doubt about the power of the ancient king. Several eras ago, he had truly ascended the throne of the immortal king. In the past, he even bluntly stated that he had touched the threshold of a higher realm. Only then did he retreat for endless years, which indirectly caused the name of the ancient king to be silenced in the fairyland, even if he was also in the fairyland existence. It is impossible to know where the ancient king was during these several eras. Now, the ancient king is born and both exist in the immortal king realm. King Xian and King Lotus are naturally very concerned about whether the ancient king has truly touched that realm threshold, which is undoubtedly very important to the existence of all immortal king realm. However, the answer of the ancient king made the look of expectation in the eyes of King Xian and King Lotus fade slightly. That state is like a flower in a mirror or the moon in water. After several epochs of exploration, there has not been much gain. It is difficult, difficult, difficult. The ancient king sighed, his voice full of sadness. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 253. The ancient king's voice was filled with sadness. In the immortal realm, he can definitely be regarded as the creature that has lived the longest period of time. In the entire immortal realm, there are probably only one or two creatures of his generation. Moreover, those creatures of his generation have not manifested themselves in the immortal realm for countless epochs. In the prediction of the ancient king, I am afraid that he has already transformed into a Tao and died. And even King Lotus and King Xian were just juniors in the eyes of the ancient king. After all, when King Lotus and King Xian had not yet become immortals, the ancient king was already the supreme immortal king in the immortal realm. But now, seeing the great changes in the world, reincarnation for hundreds of generations, the rise and fall of generations of geniuses, the creatures in the entire fairyland have changed so much that they don't even know how many times they have changed. For beings like the ancient king, everything in the world has long lost any attraction. In this life, he only lives to break through to a higher realm. And above the immortal king, there is undoubtedly a realm of mystery and mystery. In this realm, there is no previous experience to draw from. The path of cultivation has reached a dead end when it reaches the immortal king realm. If you want to move forward, you must become a pioneer and find your own way. However, although it is simple, how can it be so easy to implement it? Being above the immortal king is a realm that has been cherished by countless geniuses throughout the ages. There are countless immortal kings in the immortal realm who have never stepped into this realm in their lives, and even until their death, they have never touched the threshold of that realm. Several epochs ago, the ancient king's realm had already reached the perfection of the immortal king realm. In his perception, it seemed that he was only one step away from breaking this eternal barrier and truly reaching a state that was unprecedented and unprecedented. Therefore, he chose to retreat to death, hoping to break through this realm. After that, for several epochs, the ancient king spent time in seclusion and never manifested in the world. However, the result made him extremely disappointed. After several epochs of seclusion, he was just standing still. In that state, he was really like a flower in the mirror or the moon in the water. It's clearly right in front of you, but you can't touch it. This feeling is undoubtedly maddening. And just now, the ancient king who was in seclusion was alarmed by the unusual movement of the ancient monument caused by Qin Mu. He thought that there was no point in continuing to go into seclusion, so he woke up from the seclusion and came to find out. It turns out that the senior ancient king has never made a breakthrough. Xianwang sighed, his voice slightly dejected and disappointed. Whether the ancient king breaks through is of great significance to the entire immortal realm. If the ancient king breaks through, it will not only point the way to the immortal king realm for King Xian and others. More importantly, he will become the real sea-fixing needle of the immortal realm. Now the immortal realm is plagued by the invasion of the dark realm, and wars may break out at any time. Although he and King Lotus are both immortal kings, the supreme existence of the realm, but it cannot deter the dark realm at all. After all, the number of immortal kings on the dark realm is too many, far exceeding that of the fairy realm. We can get a glimpse of the battle between World Tianxiao. The other party dispatched the power of 5 immortal kings in one breath, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of the overall strength of the dark domain. However, if the ancient king is like this after coming out of seclusion for the first time, if you can truly break through to the realm above the immortal king, the situation will immediately change. Above the true immortal, every other realm is the same. No matter how many true immortals are added together, they are absolutely it is impossible to be an opponent of an immortal king realm existence. In the same way, if the ancient king truly breaks through to a realm above the immortal king realm, no matter how many immortal king realm existences there are, it will not be able to pose a threat to it. In this way, even if the dark domain side, no matter how arrogant they don't dare to be enemies with the immortal domain. After all, there are ancient kings who have broken through to the realm above the immortal king. If the dark domain side dares to be arrogant, it is tantamount to seeking death. But now, several ancient kings' era's retreat has made no progress, and he has never reached that realm. This naturally makes King Xian feel a little disappointed. After several epochs of retreat, I have gained a little bit. That state cannot be forced, everything is predestined. The ancient king said lightly, and then turned his eyes to the ancient monument that stood between heaven and earth. Looking at the 4 words "He who crosses the sea will die" engraved on the monument, the ancient king couldn't help but show solemnity in his eyes. The top priority is to deal with the affairs here. I can be regarded as the oldest living creature in the entire immortal realm, but I have never heard of such a place in the immortal realm. Senior Ancient King has just woken up from seclusion and may not know what happened yet. King Xian looked at the Ancient King and told the Ancient King everything that happened in the immortal realm some time ago. Hundreds of millions of years ago, Huang was in existence above the immortal king. The Ancient King murmured to himself, and a fiery color suddenly appeared in his eyes as he looked at the majestic sea in the distance. He knew that King Xian would not lie to him. In other words, hundreds of millions of years ago, there really were existences above the immortal kings in the immortal realm. So how did they break through to the immortal king? In these countless epochs, no creature above the immortal king has ever appeared in the immortal realm. But hundreds of millions of years ago, there were living beings who came to that realm. Could it be said that creatures from hundreds of millions of years ago were more talented than creatures today? The ancient king didn't believe it, there must be other reasons. In the illusory realm reflected by that monument, many immortal kings risked their own demise and had to cross the sea to move forward. Could it be that, on the other side of this world sea, is there really a secret to breaking through to the realm of the immortal king? Otherwise, there is no way to explain all this. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 254. It's a pity that I was still in seclusion before, and I never knew that so many things happened in the fairyland. Otherwise, I would definitely come out of seclusion, witness everything, and meet Na Huang. The ancient king murmured to himself, his voice full of regret. He has been trapped at the top of the immortal king realm for endless years. On this road, he has not even found a single traveler. The only thing that accompanies him is endless loneliness. And Huang is also an existence at the top of the immortal king realm. If he can talk to him, even if he cannot break through to the realm above the immortal king, it will definitely be of great benefit. Shortage. King Xian also murmured to himself, and could not help but think of the unparalleled splendor of that day when King Huang came to the world and suppressed the 5 immortal kings with one manpower. King Xian also knew how powerful the ancient king was. But although Huang who appeared that day had never faced off against the ancient king, in King Xian's heart, he still felt that Huang was definitely stronger than the ancient king. Who left this ancient monument? Lian Wang raised his head and looked at this majestic sky monument standing on the embankment, his eyes flowing. It is obvious that the person who erected this ancient monument wanted to remind future generations not to cross the sea, as it contains huge treasures. Risk. In fact, the person who used the supreme method to isolate this ancient world sea from the fairy world may be the same person who erected the stone tablet. However, this person erected the stone tablet and banned this place. Who is the person in the majestic sea of boundaries? Is it Huang? This ancient sky monument can react with the sky tablet standing in Xianwang city that records the name of Huang, which is enough to prove that it is absolutely connected to Huang. Connection. But no one can know whether the person who erected the monument was Huang. Perhaps, we can reverse time and space and witness everything in the past. The ancient king looked at the ancient sky tablet that exuded the majestic aura of eternity and said thoughtfully, reversing time and space? The era in which this area is located is too ancient, and I'm afraid it can't be traced back. Xianwang smiled bitterly and shook his head. The existence of the immortal king realm is supreme. Not to mention going back in time and space, even if it is traveling across the long river of time, it can be done in the past or the future. That day, Rihuang, Yetiandi and others came from far away the long river of time upstream, and the journey across eternity is a clear proof. However, although it can travel across eternity, it is not without limitations. The history of the entire immortal realm had evolved countless years ago. King Xian and others also had looking back in time and space, tracing back to the upstream of the long river of time. I want to know what happened long ago. But the time between those years and now is really too long. So long that even the immortal king realm existence, if you trace back such a long time on the long river of time, you will be in danger of getting lost. If you are lost in the long river of time, even if the immortal king realm exists, there is no way, and there is even the risk of being trapped in the long river of time and falling forever. Moreover, Huang has also said before that those years that have disappeared involve extremely huge cause and effect. The cause and effect is so strong that it cannot be involved by the existence of the immortal king realm. In fact, even if it only spans the long river of time, it is far away. Taking one look at them and knowing the truth are all consequences that they cannot bear. In this case, King Xian and others naturally dare not try it easily. Otherwise, Huang Bian had already told him everything on the battlefield at the edge of the immortal domain that day. The truth came out. However, even though King Xian said so, King Gu was still a little unwilling. I have been trapped at the top of the immortal king realm for who knows how many years. My only pursuit in this life is to break into the realm above the immortal king. Looking back in time and space and knowing the root cause of everything may allow me to see a glimmer of hope that can break through to the realm of the immortal king. Besides, my cultivation level must surpass yours. If you cannot bear the consequences, maybe I can. The ancient king said calmly to himself. He has been cultivating Taoism for hundreds of millions of years, but now he only has one obsession left, which is to break through to the immortal king realm. Now that he has finally seen some light related to it, how can he give up so easily? This. King Xian and King Lian looked at each other and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. But they couldn't refute what the ancient king said. Back in time and space, now. The ancient king sat on the 9th level of the sky, sitting cross-legged, with a gleam of true spirit between his eyebrows, like an eternal lighthouse, shining in all directions. In front of him, a majestic river of time gradually appeared from illusion to reality. And the ancient king sat cross-legged on the long river of time, with his true spirit between his eyebrows looking out, and tracing back up the endless river of time. Suddenly, illusory pictures could be replaced tens of billions of times in an instant. In ancient times, the king continued to appear in front of him. King Xian and King Lian also looked solemnly at the illusory scenes that appeared in front of the ancient king. Those illusory scenes were the ancient king's true spirit entering the long river of history. When exploring the upper reaches of the long river of time, the past history is revealed. Each picture represents a period of time in the past. However, this place has been isolated from all realms for an unknown number of years. Even though the ancient king traces back endless years, this place but the scene has never changed. The majestic sea, the boundaries are endless, the waves are rolling, destroying the heaven and the earth. This scene seems to have reached eternity. It has been running through to the present since the beginning of the distant years, and there has never been the slightest change. Changes. I don't know how much time has passed, but the ancient king's true spirit is still tracing back to the distant end of time, but the picture remains unchanged. And the ancient king's true spirit has become dim, and it even looks like it seemed like it was extinguished. That's because the ancient king's true spirit traced its history back too far to the upstream of the long river of time. If it continues forcibly, I'm afraid the ancient king's true spirit will truly be lost in the long river of time. He cannot find a way back, which means that his soul cannot be integrated with his body. By then, it also means that the ancient king will fall. Senior ancient king, stop it. Seeing that the ancient king's true spirit was getting darker and darker, King Xian finally couldn't help but speak. If he continues, unimaginable changes may really happen. Well. The ancient king sighed with difficulty. He also knew that he was about to reach his limit. If he forced himself to continue, there would definitely be no good results. So he planned to take back the true spirit and stop this exploration. But at the moment when the ancient king's true spirit was about to return, the scene that had never changed and remained unchanged from ancient times changed for the first time. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 255. The real body of the ancient king sits cross-legged, and a little bit of his true spirit travels through history, intending to pursue the truth of what happened before ancient history. And no matter how far his true spirit traced back upstream of history, the scene before him never changed. The majestic black ocean has always stood here, never more, never less, and never changed in the slightest. However, all this changed when the ancient king's true spirit could no longer hold on and was about to return from the long river of time. Boom! On the long river of time, the river that has always been flowing has suddenly boiled, as if some terrible accident is about to happen. At that time's upper reaches, the Dao Tao time river was boiling to the extreme, covering the sky and the sun, and the world was chaotic, as if it was about to turn the entire world into nothingness. The ancient king's true spirit is like a small boat on the turbulent sea. It is in danger of being swallowed at any time. Senior ancient king, quickly take back your true spirit. Xian Wang was shocked and reminded him quickly. There is no doubt that the changes in the long river of time are related to the ancient king's actions just now. It must be that he intended to explore the past history and touched some taboos, which led to the current situation. The accident happened. Now that I have hope, I will never give up. However, faced with King Xian's reminder, the ancient king remained unmoved. His slightly dim eyes before were slightly brighter. Not only did the true spirit not return, but it accelerated its pace forward. Before, the reason why he wanted to return, because there was no gain or change at all after a search, and he died in vain. Naturally, the ancient king would not do such a thing. But now, the changes in the long river of time must be related to his actions. Now it seems that the biggest secret is how could the ancient king give up at such a moment if he wanted to reveal it before his own eyes. The ancient king was determined, and even King Xian and King Lian could not stop him. King Xian and King Lian also knew that the ancient king had made up his mind. There is no other way but to watch his true spirit traveling farther and farther up the river of time, so far that it is almost submerged in the majestic river. At this moment, other powerful creatures in the fairyland who arrived here are almost holding their breath. Looking at this scene, a strong person in the immortal king realm is traveling back in time. Such a magnificent scene is not something that you are lucky enough to see all the time. The upper reaches of the long river of time. Among the crowd, the ruthless emperor, dressed in white as snow, stood quietly, his beautiful eyes looking at the picture projected in front of the ancient king, which contained a look of expectation. Since entering the immortal realm, she has only heard information about Emperor Yetiandi and others at the edge of the immortal realm, but other than that, she has gained nothing. And this place is obviously related to Emperor Huang Tian. If the ancient king's exploration really yields something, it might be related to Emperor Yetian and others. And, the Lord of Heaven. Many eyes were focused on the scene in front of the ancient king. Everyone is curious about that period of history that has long since disappeared hundreds of millions of years ago. What happened in the past? Boom. After much anticipation, the scene in front of the ancient king finally changed. The boundary sea in the ancient picture became turbulent and turbulent, as if it had awakened from a deep sleep. And many unimaginably powerful ancient creatures also appeared from the sea one by one. The 8 immortals crossed the sea, each showing their magical powers, fighting to cross the majestic boundary sea, heading towards the other side of the distant boundary sea. All these creatures are extremely powerful, even the weakest ones are invincible under the immortal king. Most of them are supreme beings in the immortal king realm, and there are even some ancient strong men who can rival the ancient king. Zuqian crosses the boundary sea. King Lian murmured to himself that he had seen the scene before in the ancient sky monument in Xianwang City. Buzz. However, the scene in the painting changed in the next moment. At the end of the boundary sea filled with black mist, there is an inexplicable rhythm, like the first sound after the creation of the world, like it contains the final mystery of the end of the world, and like a supreme being breathing. At this moment, even if it was just an illusion, a scene could not help but appear in everyone's mind. At the end of the distant sea, there is a majestic, unparalleled, and unimaginable existence. He is far beyond the immortal king. He is the ultimate of everything, the end of the heavens, and an existence that is unimaginable to all living beings. This unimaginable existence sat silently on an ancient throne that reached up to the heavens. His body was surrounded by endless mist of chaos, looming, as if it had disappeared. However, at a certain moment, this ancient and powerful body suddenly moved. His chest rose and fell slightly, and with the sound of the ancient voice, the endless black air flow escaped from his mouth and nose, turning into a wind of destruction that could cover the sky and the sun, and could destroy all worlds, sweeping across all the world. Heaven spread out in the direction in front of him. And that is the direction of the boundary sea. Call. Like the rhythm of the heavens, and like the sound of the end of the world. When the black wind blows, everything ceases to exist. The majestic boundary sea was suppressed, and all the waves calmed down. And all the creatures struggling on the sea surface were as if they had never existed. When the black air flow blew by, All the creatures below the immortal king realm perished, and not even their bones were left behind. And even a powerful being in the immortal king realm could not hold out for even a 10,000th of an instant in the face of this omnipresent black airflow. His body of flesh and blood disappeared, leaving only a pair of white bones, which sank into the sea of the world. Ups and downs endlessly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 256. The Immortal Emperor, who is as powerful as De Lugo, is nothing more than a Hunyuan being arranging immeasurable chaos, hoping to provide nourishment for his own return. This truth made Huang feel chilly in his heart. Before, he simply thought that the Supreme Immortal Emperor, who stood at the end of the boundary sea, overlooked billions of heavens, and regarded the immortal king like an ant, was the ultimate in the world and the source of all darkness and uncertainty. But now it seems that things are not that simple at all. As powerful as the great Lugo Immortal Emperor, he is just a pawn in the layout of Hunyuan's existence. And it is conceivable that after this great Lugo Immortal Emperor completely annihilated his own conscience and was completely invaded by the darkness, he will truly come, destroy everything in this world with supreme power, and transfer the cause and effect, using this as the nourishment for the Hunyuan existence to be reborn and return. There is not much time left for you. The Immortal Emperor has struggled and suffered for so long, and now there is only a little bit of true spirit left that has not been extinguished. And when his true spirit is completely extinguished, a great Lugo goes crazy and destroys the universe and the endless worlds derived from it. It is just a matter of a snap. Qin. Mu said calmly. De Lugo, Hunyuan, even if I can really defeat this De Lugo, how can I stop the darkness from coming? If that Hunyuan existence knew all this, he would definitely not give up. By then, this world may suffer another misfortune, and the final outcome seems to be difficult to change. Huang smiled bitterly, and he couldn't help but feel a sense of powerlessness in his heart. Before, when he learned that his only opponent was this immortal emperor who had just been promoted to the De Lugo realm, although he felt pressure in his heart, he was even more filled with endless fear. The fighting spirit and pride. But now, behind the scenes, a supreme being in the Hunyuan realm has appeared. Hunyuan is too far away from his current realm. I am afraid that the other party only needs one thought. He can be wiped out. With his current cultivation level, he still has a chance to be on par with the fallen immortal emperor who fell from the realm of De Lugo. But with this one who is above De Lugo, just a drop of blood can kill him. A perfect immortal emperor is nothing compared to the existence that fell from the great Lugo realm. Even if he really prevents the coming of darkness in all the worlds, he will definitely be known to the other party. By then, the other party will, I'm afraid it only takes one thought to wipe him out, and even plunge this world into a state of eternal disaster. So, what is the meaning of all he has done? You can rest assured about this. No matter whether you stop the Dark Immortal Emperor or not, this Hunyuan being will never take action again. Qin. Mu smiled calmly and said. I have said before that destroying Fang Fang's world is a cause and effect that Hunyuan existence is unwilling to bear. Now, this Hunyuan, who is about to die, uses the technique of Li Dai Tao Jian to reduce and seek emptiness, and grafts his own cause and effect onto the body of Azun De Lugo. He is not involved in cause and effect, and is playing a good plan. However, there are also disadvantages to this, that is, after he chooses a living being to bear the cause and effect for him, he can no longer interfere with anything that happens next. Not to mention interfering, even lowering your gaze to observe is not allowed by the Great Dao. Because that would mean that he would have entanglements with this world, and the complex power of cause and effect would once again wrap around this Hunyuan. Then everything he did before would have no meaning. Therefore, no matter what happened, no matter whether the final result was success or failure for him, the other party would not make the slightest move. Because, even if this world ultimately failed, he still had plans for billions of other worlds. As long as the number of destroyed worlds reaches enough to meet his needs, he will be resurrected. Even if this world is missing, there is no problem. But if he is obsessed with the resources and nutrients of this world and is entangled by the power of cause and effect, and wants to escape, it will never be so easy. Qin Mu's words were like a gleam of light in the boundless darkness, making Wang's eyes light up again. If everything is really as Qin Mu said, that Hunyuan existence will not interfere, or even put it into his hands. If his eyes were lowered to this world again, he would only have to face the Dark Immortal Emperor alone, and Huang would have no fear. Not only Huang, but also many powerful people from the immortal realm outside the ancient scene. After hearing Qin Mu's explanation, they also followed. He couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. Even if it was only shown in the ancient pictures, what happened hundreds of millions of years ago still made these powerful people in the fairyland feel the same. They couldn't imagine what Huang would have to face if this matter were true. What? It's just a Deluo, but there is also a Hunyuan existence that far exceeds Deluo. The strength of the opponent has reached a desperate situation. Even the ancient King Xian Wang and others, thinking of that scene, I can't help but feel desperate, feeling that there is no way to deal with all this. So difficult, so painful. The ruthless emperor looked at the ancient scroll and murmured to himself. In the past, when she was in the lower world, she had stepped into the depths of the ancient road in the netherworld and gleaned part of the truth from the mouth of the body transformed from a drop of Huang Yi's blood. Only now did she know. It turns out that hundreds of millions of years ago, there really was such a being, who single-handedly ruled for eternity and shouldered everything for all sentient beings. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 257. It's really too strong. King Xian and King Lian agreed. Although they had never experienced what the ancient king had just felt, they had witnessed with their own eyes the terrifying sight of this supreme and terrifying existence turning all the creatures on the majestic world sea into withered bones with every breath. Unexpectedly, I am afraid that they were the ones crossing the sea at that time, and they would never be able to withstand such supreme power. This kind of realm, this kind of existence. The voice of the ancient king is difficult, and a little bit of true spirit is swimming in the upper reaches of the long river of history. There is a feeling of being on the verge of collapse and about to be extinguished. He knew that he could no longer explore further. He was just lucky this time and was let go by the other party's idea. If he continued to explore, he might really be in danger of falling. However, just when the ancient king was about to take back his true spirit and end this exploration, as soon as the picture turned, the supreme and majestic existence was hidden in the endless chaos. In the picture, an ancient dam spanning hundreds of millions of miles appeared, cutting off the entire long river of the world. This is. The ancient king's heart trembled, and he postponed the action of withdrawing the true spirit. Such changes obviously mean that something else will happen. Moreover, since time and space no longer involves that supreme being at this moment, there does not seem to be much danger in continuing to spy on it. Thinking of this, the ancient king was not in a hurry to take back his true spirit, but continued to read. Wow! The boundary sea is majestic, in which countless worlds rise and fall, and the light is endless. But at this moment, in that picture, on top of the dam that cuts off the majestic boundary sea, there is a living being appearing. It was a slender figure. Wearing a white shirt, his body is high and straight, and there is an inexplicable Taoist charm flowing all over his body. That feeling was like his whole body, all the cells, all the particles, were all perfect, reaching the supreme state of being the most divine, the most holy, the highest and the farthest. In every cell and every particle in the body, there are countless universes created and destroyed. He just stood there quietly, but he was like the sum of everything in the world, transcending everything, surpassing everything. The moment they saw him, only one thought came to everyone's mind, and that was supreme. Truly supreme. No one can be above this person, no one can, no one dares. He stood there quietly. Although his body was indistinguishable from the previous majestic existence, no one would think that he was weaker than the previous one. Surprisingly, there is another such creature. The ancient king was shocked. He didn't expect that when he peeked again, he would see another creature like this in the long river of history. There is no doubt that this figure in white clothes is by no means inferior to the one that just took a breath. The supreme and majestic existence that caused the fall of many immortal kings. Everyone was in shock. However, all the shocks at this moment were not as shocking as one person. That was the ruthless emperor. Because, she was the only one who knew the scene in the picture human identity. It is, the Lord of God. Billions of years ago, the Lord of Heaven. The ruthless emperor murmured to himself, his beautiful eyes full of shock and confusion. She never expected that she would see the traces left by the Lord of Heaven here. Moreover, the Lord of Heaven in this ancient picture is far stronger than the Lord of Heaven he had encountered in the lower realm. But even so, the ruthless emperor was still sure at the first moment that this person was the Lord of God. Although there is a difference in strength between the two, their auras are generally the same. There will never be another existence like this in this world. The only explanation is that the Lord of Heaven never showed his power at all when he was in the lower realm. After all, if he really shows his power, he may be like the Supreme Being before, who can instantly collapse the universe in the lower world and turn it into ashes with just one breath. Thinking of this, the ruthless emperor's beautiful eyes stared closely at that ancient picture, hoping to get more information about Qin from it. Crash, the majestic boundary sea surges, and in that ancient picture, the Lord of God stands on the edge of the boundary sea dam, with his hands behind his hands, looking into the distance, as if through this majestic boundary sea, he sees the other side of the boundary sea. The Supreme Being sleeping beside him. Phew, the breeze blew, and a person appeared again on the embankment, causing everyone to exclaim. Because, King Xian and others all knew the identity of this person who appeared again. It's exactly Huang. However, the wilderness that appears on the ancient picture at this moment is obviously more powerful than the wilderness that was on the edge of the fairyland in the past and traveled through the long river of time. He has already surpassed the immortal king. Time is running out. I want to cross the sea and put an end to all the ultimate cholera, so that all living beings in the immortal realm can be at peace. In the picture, Huang spoke, his voice was calm and resolute, and there was a vague sense of majesty that encompassed the universe and swallowed up all the heavens. If you want to do it, do it. The Supreme Being standing on the edge of the dam spoke, his voice as indifferent and distant as the way of heaven, as if everything in the world had no secrets and no meaning in his eyes. God is unkind and treats all things as stupid dogs. It's just, after I leave, the outcome is unpredictable, the boundary sea is majestic, and there are countless darkness hidden within it. I am afraid that no one can protect the fairyland on my way forward. Huang opened his mouth and expressed his worries. He is not worried about whether he can quell the chaos if he crosses the sea. He is only worried that after he leaves, no one will be able to protect the sentient beings in this fairyland. All living beings have their own destiny due to their origins, conditions, and stages of birth and death. There is no point in worrying about things here. The Lord of Heaven spoke in a calm voice. If you become an immortal emperor and advance to the great Ludo realm, you will consolidate all timelines and turn the long river of time into a circle. With a single thought, you can resurrect hundreds of millions of fallen creatures from the long river of history. In a single thought, it can turn hundreds of millions of living beings in the world into nothingness, completely erasing all traces of their existence in the world. So, as long as you win, everything will be worry-free. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 258. Immortal Emperor, De Lugo, what kind of state should that be? Facing the Lord of Heaven's explanation, Huang murmured to himself, his eyes full of expectation. Although he has surpassed the immortal king, he is still far away from the immortal emperor. The realm of the immortal emperor is separated by just a thin line between heaven and man. It is far further apart than any other realm before. The immortal emperor is De Lugo. De Lugo is innate, and the gap between innate creatures and acquired creatures is so great that it is unimaginable. Without this realm, one can never imagine the magical powers and methods that exist in this realm. The Lord of Heaven put his hands behind his back and said calmly, I am not an immortal emperor, but he has already reached that realm. According to what you said, what chance do I have to compete with him? Huang asked. Outside the screen, King Xian, Ancient King, and others were all watching with bated breath what was happening in the screen. For them, the occurrence of all this is equivalent to the supreme secret of hundreds of millions of years ago slowly unfolding before their eyes. Being able to catch a glimpse of it is an extremely lucky thing. As for the Ancient King, his face was filled with fascination. Although he is only at the peak of the Immortal King realm, he is extremely fascinated by the realms above the Immortal King realm. Immortal Emperor, De Lugo. Born to be born, born to be born? What kind of state should that be? The gap is unimaginably large, but not irreversible. Although there is a great distance between heaven and man, there is still a glimmer of hope. The Lord of Heaven said calmly. The difference between innate and acquired, between De Lugo and non-De Lugo, mainly lies in the obstacle of consciousness. What is the obstacle of consciousness? What you see is completely different from what De Lugo sees. What De Lugo sees is the essence of everything in the world. The existence of De Lugo, with just a thought, can reverse the front and back, disrupt time and space, and subvert the laws, but you can't think about it, can't understand it all. This is where the cognitive barriers of acquired souls lie. After saying that, the Lord of Heaven's body trembled slightly, and suddenly, an indescribable aura rose from his body. At this moment, something unimaginable happened to the many immortal creatures watching all this outside the ancient paintings. In the ancient paintings, the figure of the Lord of God seems to have disappeared. He is clearly standing there, but it seems that all traces have been erased. Light and darkness, yin and yang, all contradictions and non-contradictions in the world, all the gatherings can be reflected in him. Seeing him is like seeing the entire vast universe and everything in the world. He is all-encompassing and omnipresent. Seeing it is like seeing the sky. He is indifferent and lofty, and he feels helpless in his heart. A feeling of rivalry. What is De Lugo? This is De Lugo. The Lord of Heaven chuckled, and pressed out with a single palm. Boom! The moment the Lord of Heaven took action, everything in the world seemed to have stopped. An unimaginable aura rose up, as if a supreme being had revived. Immediately afterwards, what appeared was a scene that was unimaginable to many creatures who had watched the ancient painting before, and was so shocked that they lost their voices. In ancient paintings, between heaven and earth, long rivers of time emerge, intertwining between heaven and earth. That's right, it's the long rivers of time, not one, not many, but countless, billions and millions of them. It's impossible to know their specific number, tending to infinity. Everyone knows that there is only one river of time, but is this really the case? The timeline goes from ancient times to the present to the future. Every choice is different, and every moment of difference will create a different future. And these futures, in De Lugo's eyes, are real. But the creatures in the world don't know, they are nothing more than the body of the future, they can't see all this at all, and the summer insects can't talk to them. Qin Mu whispered calmly. Billions of possibilities create billions of infinite parallel worlds. In every world, you exist. However, among these billions of futures, your achievements are not the same. After that, he waved his hand, and billions of time rivers rushed forward, but a picture emerged from the billions of time rivers. On each picture, what emerged was desolate. Figure. This is a desert among billions of parallel worlds. What is shown in the picture is his life trajectory. See it? These are all you, but you in each time and space have different achievements, different opportunities, and different final results. Qin Mu smiled lightly and continued to press down with his extended palm. The existence of De Lugo is able to erase all of these billions of possibilities for you, and completely deny your existence on endless timelines. Following Qin Mu's movements, among the billions of pictures that emerged in the billions of time, there was actually a giant palm that covered the sky, falling from the sky and heading towards the desolate pressure. That was billions of times. Thousands of parallel times, billions of time nodes, this palm has blocked the past, present and future, and locked the wilderness. All time variables have no meaning under this palm. When Huang was young, in the wilderness, a giant palm fell from the sky, destroying his tribe and the wilderness together. When Huang was wandering in the secret realm, a sky-covering giant palm fell from the sky, destroying him and the secret realm together. When Huang entered the fairyland, between Huang and darkness during the war between the domain creatures, that was every time node Huang had ever experienced, and the timeline of his life up to now. And in all of this, no matter at any time node, Qin Mu was taking action to kill him. This. Huang's expression was solemn. At this moment, many memories appeared in his mind out of thin air. That was the picture of Qin Mu taking action to obliterate him in every time and space, every moment. And as the giant palm covering the sky fell, he felt that his body, soul, and everything else were turning into nothingness and being completely denied. There is no doubt that if those giant palms covering the sky fall completely, he will be killed in all timelines, and the current him will also be completely reduced to nothingness. What's even more terrifying is that he can't resist this method at all. Even Huang has a kind of enlightenment. When this palm falls, billions of time and space, billions of possibilities for him will be wiped out, and then all traces of his existence in this world will be completely wiped out. Even the memories related to him will be completely eliminated from the minds of other sentient beings. Except for De Lugo, who wiped him out, no one will know of his existence from ancient times to the present. Qin Mu waved his hand and all the time disappeared in an instant, as if it had never appeared before. See it? This is De Lugo, and acquired creatures simply cannot compare with it. The only one who can be the enemy of De Lugo is De Lugo, because only De Lugo has consolidated all timelines, all time and space, and is eternally powerful. However, although he was De Lugo in the past, something has changed now. This is also your only chance. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 259. Something happened. Huang let out a long sigh, his eyes flickering with uncertainty. If one goes by what the Lord of Heaven said, then the immortal emperor, or the existence of the Great Lugo series, would simply be difficult to compete with. Anyone who is not De Lugo cannot even think of being his enemy. So, since the existence of the De Lugo series has become so powerful and claims to be eternal and free in all time and space, what changes have happened that have caused such a supreme and majestic existence to be weakened to the point where even those who are not De Lugo series, what about the point where everything can be overcome? Moreover, the existence in front of him, called the Lord of Heaven, is so powerful. The hand he just showed is enough to prove that the other party is already a being above the Great Lugo. So since the existence of this realm knows and understands all this, why not take action personally to quell it all? Huang was deep in thought, but Qin Mu seemed to understand what he was thinking. He put his hands behind his back and said calmly, "Those who are promoted to De Lugo will be free from disasters, eternally free, and themselves are a great cause and effect. The great Logo in this world is also a man of astonishing talent and beauty. If I take action, I will definitely add boundless cause and effect. But you are different. You and him have long been connected by cause and effect. Even if you take action, it will only reduce the cause and effect, which is nothing. When the Lord of Heaven mentioned this, Huang already knew it and showed a wry smile. The other party was right. This Supreme Being named Lord of Heaven was not a creature of this world at all, and the other party did not help this world. The obligations of living beings. Being able to tell yourself this is already the most benevolent and righteous. Huang and the Lord of Heaven are talking. And outside the ancient scroll, the many powerful people in the fairyland have long been dumbfounded. Because on the ancient scroll, its power has completely exceeded their understanding and shattered their cognition. Before, no one could imagine that there would be such a powerful creature in this world. No, maybe it can no longer be said to be a creature. Such existence may have already exceeded the category of living beings. As the Lord of God said, innateness and nurture are two completely different concepts of life forms. Once he takes action, it will cover billions of time and space, with billions of possibilities, and basically erase all traces of the existence of this creature. The immortal emperor, De Logo, is so terrifying that it is unimaginable. It is really so powerful that it is unimaginable. Yin and yang, big and small, all the contradictions and non-contradictions can be reflected in the powerful De Logo. Such existences have completely exceeded the category of living beings, beyond all living beings. How can we compete with this knowledge? In all time and space, the strong De Logo is eternally free, and controls all possibilities. No matter what possibility, De Logo is De Logo. What kind of power is this? Many powerful people in the immortal realm couldn't help but admire, and their hearts were filled with awe for the powerful immortal emperor. No wonder, the powerful immortal emperor who seemed to stand at the end of time and space could make this majestic sea of realm rise with just one breath. Many of the powerful immortal king realm warriors in the world have fallen. Because they are not creatures at the same level of life at all and cannot be compared at all. Immortal Emperor, De Logo. Not only the other powerful men in the immortal realm, but also the Xian King, Lotus King, and even the ancient king were silent, and their hearts were extremely shocked. Previously, in King Xian's view, there was a wilderness on the edge of the fairyland. The wilderness came from millions of years of time and space, pressed the immortal king and ran with his palm, pierced the time and space with a spear, and killed in Ran's past body. This realm of magical power is already so miraculous that it is awe-inspiring and desirable. But now it seems that in front of such a powerful person in the De Logo realm, all this is as ridiculous as children playing house. Kill the past body? When De Logo takes action, it will cover immeasurable time and space and radiate to all timelines. There are traces of De Logo's existence in the billions of past and present. He can take action and completely obliterate the enemy out of a million possibilities. That day, on the edge of the immortal realm, if the Supreme Being who guided the wilderness had taken action, those immortal kings would have been completely destroyed long ago. Together with the memories related to them, they must be erased from the minds of all living beings. This is the power of De Logo. Wait, in the vast immortal realm, there is no record of what happened hundreds of millions of years ago. I used to think that this was just because it was too long ago and the traces of history have been buried in the dust. That's all. But now it seems that the situation is far from that simple. King Lian was suddenly startled, as if he had thought of something. The emergence of historical gaps is an extremely strange thing. Because, even though time is extremely long as all living things in the world are not extinct, there will definitely be various records or memories passed down. Moreover, the creatures in the fairyland are far better than the ordinary ones. Billions of years ago, in the immortal realm, creatures in the immortal king realm must have existed. If a strong person in the immortal king realm is free from disasters, it will probably not be a big problem for him to survive forever. In other words, no matter what, it is unreasonable for the time and space of hundreds of millions of years ago to have no history handed down. But now, after hearing the Lord of Heaven explain the power of Delugo, King Lotus has some different views. Perhaps, the fault line in history hundreds of millions of years ago is really not a coincidence. A strong person in the Delugo realm can completely erase a certain memory in the minds of all living beings. The only ones who can do all this are the strong ones above the Delugo realm. Perhaps, hundreds of millions of years ago, there was a gap in the history of the immortal realm, which was the handwriting left by the powerful people in the Delugo realm in the past. Only they can do this. Completely erase the history of hundreds of millions of years from the minds of all living beings. Fantasy, I am the big boss behind the scenes. Author, Guanyun Taoist. Chapter 260. Could it be that the fault lines that occurred in the history of the immortal realm hundreds of millions of years ago were really caused by the fight between two powerful men above the immortal emperor realm? King Lotus murmured to himself, making such a guess in his mind. He had always wondered about this before. But now, everything seems to have a more reasonable explanation. However, imagining that if this guess was true, King Lotus still couldn't suppress the shock in his heart. How terrifying is the existence of the powerful immortal emperor and Delugo. The battle between the two can completely tamper with and cut off the history of the two worlds. Such power is simply unfathomable. You receive shocking points from King Xian at 36,577,745 points. You receive shocking points from the ancient king at 42,859,561 points. You receive shocking points from Lotus King at 34,487,695 points. You receive shocking points from Yukaij at 3,457,650 points. You receive from. In the ancient scene, the Lord of Heaven incarnated by Qin Mu expounds the power of Delugo to Huang. Outside the screen, Qin Mu, who was standing aside and quietly watching all this, had his shock points rising extremely rapidly. If this trend continues, I'm afraid it won't be long before Qin Mu can complete the missing parts of the secret realm of the Boundary Sea and completely perfect it. The matter is not over yet. In the ancient scene, the conversation between the Lord of Heaven and Huang is still continuing. Now that things have come to this, I still have one thing that I don't understand, and I hope your Majesty can clear up the confusion. Huang took a deep breath and asked. According to ancient records, that creature was the first creature to attain Taoism and attain the position of Delugo after the creation of the world in the immortal realm. Even if you don't think about the immeasurable merits of his birth in this world, how can you take action against the hundreds of millions of sentient beings in this world? Huangbuja, in the oldest historical records of the immortal realm. The supreme being that existed at the end of the world seemed to be a living being in the immortal realm who attained enlightenment in the past. Such beings were born in the immortal realm, even if they were certified after attaining the highest fruition status. Why would he backhand attack the immortal realm? If he was still Delugo, naturally none of this would have happened. The powerful Delugo is free in all time and space, but at the same time, everything the acquired creatures pursue has no meaning in their eyes, so he naturally has no need to take action against the creatures in this world. Besides, as you said, he is still a creature born in this world. Qin Mu replied with a smile. However, I told you that something happened to him, and now Delugo no longer exists. After that, Qin Mu waved his hand, and an ancient picture unfolded in front of Huang. It was an ancient and vast realm, and the heaven and earth were so vast that it was unimaginable. In the center of the ancient picture, there was an indescribable figure. What a majestic figure, standing in the center of heaven and earth, like the supreme master of all things in heaven and earth, and like the carrier and embodiment of all the ways in heaven and earth. He stood there quietly, like the way of heaven, like the way of heaven and earth. The ultimate in this world. This creature is exactly the ancient creature standing at the end of the majestic world sea. However, he in the picture looks more majestic and magnificent than he at the end of the world sea, like a true immortal emperor. Around the world, there were countless creatures prostrate on the ground, praying devoutly to him. However, at a certain moment, deep in the sky at the highest place, a gap suddenly opened, and a faint figure appeared. Traces of another world. Although it was just a gap, the vast and distant aura transmitted from that gap was far better than this one. It can be vaguely seen that behind the gap, there is the endless majestic sea of blood was filled with strange and ominous atmosphere. All of this was naturally sensed by the immortal emperor born in the immortal realm. He stepped out and came under the gap, wanting to take possession of it. Find out. After all, as the most powerful creature in this world, it is not that he has never explored the traces of the existence of other worlds, but he has never found them. But now, there is such a world independently revealed, which naturally arouses his curiosity. As for the world after that, he was only curious, but not afraid. Because he was already in the realm of Delugo, and he had the confidence to be invincible in the world. However, what happened next completely subverted this. The knowledge of the existence of Zundalugo realm. On the ancient sky, in the suddenly cracked gap, a shadow appeared. It was the shadow cast by an ancient coffin. Although it was not big, it seemed to be shrouded above the heads of all the worlds. The ancient coffin cannot be described with what kind of material it is made of. It does not resemble any material in the world, but it has an ancient and vast aura. It is just a coffin. Naturally, the being in the realm of the immortal emperor would not feel the slightest fear. He stepped forward without fear, wanting to open the coffin and witness everything. However, just as he stepped forward, from above the coffin, there was a drop of black blood flowing out from the ancient coffin. And when it fell, it seemed to block all time and space, and block all variables. Even the immortal emperor could not avoid that drop at all. The falling black blood could only be watched helplessly as it landed on the top of his head. Boom! The black blood fell on the immortal emperor's head, causing earth-shattering changes in an instant. An unimaginable dark aura surrounded this powerful immortal emperor. His soul became dim, and an unimaginable dark aura shrouded his body. It was as if there was an inexplicable existence that was fighting for his body, trying to use his body as a carrier to come. The powerful immortal emperor tried his best to resist, and Delugo's power was fully displayed. However, that drop of black blood seemed to be above Delugo. No matter how he resisted, it seemed that he could not change his ending of being gradually eroded by this black blood.